ready to feel
the power.
That's Colin Crandall over there, myself, Adam Roorda, here with MMA Power Hour, just bringing you another episode. And it's from the lovely, sunny Southern California, Los Angeles, Burbank area now. We're doing this from my home right now. We will be moving into a studio, working on a few things there. We were with Third Wheel Podcast Studio. Great guys over there. I definitely recommend checking them out if you're looking for a space. It's just I moved to Burbank. Colin lives in Burbank, so we're trying to get stuff going over here on this side of the hill. But you guys are all absolutely amazing for always hanging in there with us. Colin, do you see when I pull this up the chat?
Yes, I do right now. Yep.
Perfect. Love it.
Awesome. We're looking for an amazing show today. And just for you people that are new that don't know us, we're glad to have you here. Regulars, thank you so much. With me, you have Colin, always avoiding the scandal, Crandall, and my partner, producer, and co-host, Adam, wishing California was more like Florida, Roorda.
Yeah, and I came in a little loud with the music here, so you guys might not have heard us, but hopefully you're feeling the power with us. Also, I want to throw out there, I was coming from sunny Southern California here in Burbank. Beautiful location. I have to tell you, I love Burbank.
Yeah, it's really nice. I knew you would, and it's awesome you came out here. If I don't have to drag myself down to Hollywood ever again, I'll be okay with that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm glad that our show is removed as one of those reasons for me to go down there to that hellhole.
Oh man,
I'll tell you.
Yeah, man, I'm realizing I'm gonna have to get one additional light set up in here.
Yeah, for me, I was thinking you look like you're good. I look like I'm in kind of a weird haze, maybe, and I'm an older guy that needs the help to look good on it too. So we need to switch that. Yeah, but did you want me to take it away?
I'm the one that has a little bit of a haze on mine, but yours is
shadowy.
It's just it's shadowy. But yeah, no, listen, as far as everything going on, everybody should go on over and check out lithtoken.io. It is a cryptocurrency that I'm working on. Again, lithtoken.io. That's LITH token.io.
Absolutely, and I can testify it's a great product, and I can also tell you that it is at a value price right now, as is a lot of crypto. And I'm not a licensed financial advisor, but then again, it seems like licensed financial advisors tend to give you crap advice anyway, because their best interest is having your funds constantly in action. So we don't have your funds. So as a completely objective source, I'd say there's a good value here, especially in a Lith token at these levels. Right.
I mean, I agree. I mean, no investment advice here, but I'm definitely trickling in a little bit on my own token, just because these levels are amazing for buying.
Yeah, absolutely. Lithtoken.io, and that means you won't have to always be talking about I owe this person.
Hopefully
and I
not.
owe that person, right?
Hopefully not, right?
Right.
Well, we are making physical NFTs, so any of you athletes that come on our show, we'd love to work with you to go ahead and create collectible items that are on the blockchain, and we're doing it in a really unique way that nobody else really is capable of doing. And actually, I say that they're not just capable of doing it because they don't know, but when they do know, we have a patent pending on this technology. So pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I'm wearing the hat. It's Lith token. You see this logo?
Yep.
Make sure it is a Lith token. It's the green icon with a white background.
Absolutely. The NFTs are niftier, to use the NFT letters, and the next time they're niftier than any other NFTs, I would say.
Well, I mean, I stay away from the Nifty because there's an NFT creator called Nifty.
Oh, okay. Then forget that.
Yeah, you've brought that up like multiple times.
Yeah.
It's like, Colin, no.
I never realized why. You probably just told me why. So these are not these are lithier than any other NFTs. They're great.
They're lithier, definitely.
They're there.
And our tie-in with a couple lithium companies is pretty amazing that we have that. So lithium ion batteries will be impacting the price here in the near future.
Yes,
believe it or not.
And not only that, but the batteries that you, ladies and gentlemen, use for all of your products, pretty soon the batteries, and I mean AA, AAA, AAA batteries, are going to have a picture of Dr. Adam Roorda on them. It's going to be amazing. So
you know what? I might actually make some of those as collectibles.
that would be cool. And I thought of the idea, or were you already thinking of it?
Get some rechargeable lithium-ion batteries for people to go ahead and use, and have a picture of me with my beard.
Yes, that would be amazing. And maybe for the power, to emphasize the power, roaring, lion fist roaring.
And I'll even make sure that I find a way to get an NFC chip on it, so that way we can make a physical collectible. How about that?
That would be awesome. But then, in the world of the NFL, if you have an NFC chip, the AFC might get jealous. So you may have to get an AFC chip as well, or is there no option like that? Who knows what I'm doing?
There's going to have to be an AFC chip. It's Adam Field Communications, so there we go.
They're perfect. So we'll have NFC and AFC covered for those football fans. And if your team's in the AFC, you can go for the AFC, and if your team's NFC, you can go for the NFC NFT by Dr. Adam Roorda.
Eventually we might see the Denver Broncos in there.
That's it.
Been long enough. We need to see him back in there.
And a picture of their quarterback, John Elway.
He's still their quarterback.
Yeah, no, right? Am I right? He'll never not be their quarterback. If you think of Denver Broncos, who's the quarterback? John Elway. So that's just how it's going to be, and how it always.
I don't think that'll ever change.
No, even though I think he's 60 years old right now, 62 or 3. But I know a lot of people are saying, why won't he come back? But I'll tell you, you never know. John Elway can do it all. But anyway, so let's see how our progress is. Our first guest is actually due now, and we're excited to have him on, but he doesn't usually work with Skype. So we're trying to see if we can possibly see him there. And while Dr. Adam Roorda looks, maybe I will jump into the fact that we have a good fight card coming up. This Saturday. It was supposed to have been Beneil Dariush, who we've interviewed on our show many times, and Islam Makhachev, the team member of Coach Javier Mendez at AKA, who we've interviewed many times. And but that fight fell out, an injury from Beneil Dariush preventing him from having that fight. And now we have the King, Bobby Green, in a 2-week turnaround. Excuse me, sorry about that. The old frog in the throat. Now I know Adam and you guys watching have seen people make 2-week turnarounds in UFC fights. It's rare. I think one fighter did a 1-week turnaround, but a lot of times these are kind of lower or middle level fighters and fights that are not really that significant. I've never heard of someone coming into what's essentially a title eliminator fight on 2 weeks notice. I think maybe it happened. In fact, I think someone in like a Tony Ferguson fight, someone flew somewhere. I guess someone did, but then still, that was a short notice fight, but they hadn't fought 2 weeks earlier. I'm going to go on record and say I believe that for someone that is fighting on a 2-week turnaround, this will be the most important UFC fight on a 2-week turnaround that we've ever seen. And the King, Bobby Green, is going to be the one that is trying to pull the upset right now. He's about a 6-1 underdog against Islam Makhachev, the Habib Nurmagomedov teammate, friend, protege, like younger brother of Habib. And many people feel he may even be like Habib 2.0, slightly taller, slightly better striking. He does have that one loss, though. He did get caught that once, whereas Habib was able to make it through his career without any losses. But like Javier Mendez said to me when we spoke about a month ago, he said that the skill level between the two is not wide at all. Some people are trying to say Islam is nowhere near Habib as far as skill, and Coach Javier Mendez did disagree with that strongly, saying skill level very close between Habib and Islam. So we're going to see. And Bobby Green, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, and I'm so happy for Bobby Green. I don't know him personally, but I've watched him for years. Bobby Green was always that guy that had some flash, but for whatever reason, the judges never really gave him the benefit of the doubt. And I think as that started to happen, as he started to collect losses that he should have won, or split decision, or really close losses, then he became a fighter who had kind of a journeyman record, even though in the MMA world, unlike boxing, you don't have to be undefeated or have only one loss to be legitimate. You can have 3, 4, 5 losses, but I think once you start having 6 losses, 7 losses, a lot of times it seems like the judges don't tend to give you the benefit of the doubt in close fights if you're fighting a fighter with a really good record. And that's something that's always pissed me off. It can't be a coincidence, though. It happens too much that it looks like the judges are looking at who the A side is and feeling it's going to help the promotion, thereby ensuring they have more, gigs if they give the victory to the fighter with the better record. And I really think that there should be some admonishment to given by athletic commissions, and even if I don't know if the UFC themselves can talk to the judges, probably not, but I just feel like there should be some admonishment that they need to not do that. That's not a criteria of who wins a fight, meaning the fact that who has a good record and who has like a journeyman record. Not a criteria on who wins a fight at all, and shouldn't be used as one. Anyway, let me see what first he said. So our first guest is saying he's not able to, it's not working. I guess Eric is just giving his opinion here, but he's saying he's not able to figure out how to add us or do anything on Skype. He just decided to give me his opinion on this fight. I mean, is there any way we could do a phone call? No,
I'm not set up for that, Colin.
Gotcha. And you can't, is there anyone with his spelling on Skype?
There's somebody in here that was on for a little bit, and I sent a message, no response.
Okay.
39.
I think he just said he just created one right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many by his name.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think you should do? Sorry, guys, for you are watching, but, live TV, as they say, and we do have some great guests, and sometimes they're not the computer generation, the internet generation, and the Skype. Skype, I think, is making things a little bit harder for some people than they should.
It's the easiest one of them all, though, Colin.
Yeah, I know, but but anyway, so in this case, we need to just count this guest as not being able to make it. I mean, or should we try to somehow do something here? What would you prefer?
I mean, let's keep going with what we're doing.
Okay.
So we've got.
Well, yeah. Okay, I'll thank him for his opinion. Gotcha. I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate you trying, and we'll definitely talk to you soon. Okay. So basically, I'm going to send that, and we'll get back to breaking this down. We'll give his opinion. Okay. So basically, we were going to talk to. There we go. We were going to talk to Coach Eric Paulson. Eric Paulson, as you guys know, was a great fighter, one of the foremost experts in submission, both via catch wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The man trained under Rickson Gracie, trained under the Machado brothers, John Jock, I think, trained under the legend Danny Inosanto, the #1 authority on Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do, trained under Gene LaBelle, and even more. And we especially wanted him on when it was going to be Beneil Dariush against Islam. And we're still, though, going to get his opinion, because Bobby Green actually did train at CSW under Eric's top student, Ben Jones, who really runs things for the past couple of years at CSW. But we were going to get a really good breakdown on what can be done against a guy like Islam. But we're getting a little breakdown here via text. So let's tell you what Coach Eric Paulson says. He says Bobby does have a puncher's chance. He is a good wrestler. He is coming off a win. Coach Eric Paulson feels that even though 2 weeks is pretty recent for a 35-year-old fighter to be fighting, he says he thinks that's fine. He thinks someone like Bobby Green has kept himself in great shape, always consistent, always healthy, and at 35, his body is young enough to have recovered from 2 weeks ago when he was dominant in that fight anyway, and he feels that's going to put Bobby in a good position to be even fresher and more ready, possibly, being that it's been a few months since Islam fought. He also says Bobby's a great entertainer, always shows up, and we know that. Bobby Green always shows up to fight. Islam is well-rounded contender, very hard to beat, but again, Coach Eric Paulson feels that
somebody can do it, it's Bobby.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's maybe Beneil would have had a better chance.
I think Beneil had a much better chance.
Yeah, but
I think Beneil would have had it. This one's one that I'm not going to throw money on, actually.
Right. I mean, I tell you what, Islam is solid in all aspects. So overall, if forced, Coach Eric Paulson would take Islam on this. Islam is a 6-1 favorite, and he apologizes for not being able to connect. He did try for over an hour, he said.
Bummer.
Sorry, brother. I mean, no, I don't want to start out with that. But yeah, we'll thank him. Thanks so much, brother. Just read out your opinions. We really appreciate the effort. And sorry we couldn't connect. We'll make it happen down the line for sure. Period. Okay, and so basically, in this fight, let's. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some of this at Dr. Adam Roorda.
Do it.
Okay, so I know you know the fights a lot more than you did years ago, but you can't know every single fighter. You've got a lot going in your life. Not everyone can know. I can't know every single fighter. But let me give you just a little bit more of a framework for what we're looking at with this fight, and then I want to pick your brain, having been a wrestler in grammar school as you were junior high school. So Islam Makhachev brings the same type of game as Khabib, this Dagestani wrestling, which is very, very top heavy. You know, they figure four your legs when you're down, so it's very hard for you to get back to your feet. They got like a Dagestani, I think it's called Dagestani handcuffs, where they're able to get like your arm and your wrist behind your back,
right,
and then just either pound the shit out of you or submit you. They've also got submissions. Islam is apparently a little bit of a better striker than Khabib, but as far as chin, he did get caught once and stopped, although that was about 7 years ago when he's on a 10-fight win streak. He is like 30 years old, so he's got a 5-year age advantage on Bobby Green. However, Bobby Green has a lot more experience. Islam, I think, has like something like 18, 19 fights, and I think Bobby's got over 40 fights.
Islam has 22 fights as a pro, and Bobby Green as 43.
There you go. And Bobby Green has a lot of fights at this high level. He's a good wrestler with good striking. He's very unorthodox. He's very experienced, very composed. So obviously, before you answer this question, obviously ideal would be if Bobby were to keep the fight on the feet the whole time. But being that he has some wrestling and he's so experienced, what do you think from your experience, Adam? I know there were probably times as a kid where you were up against a wrestler who you were pretty sure probably was going to take you down, and you were going to have to do something to reverse or to scramble. What sort of stuff can Bobby Green do? Does he need to like sprawl and sprawl and sprawl until he's dead, or should he realize he's probably going to be put down? And what, as a wrestler, should he try to do against someone like Islam if he's down? And what do you think his mindset should be?
His mindset should to be never on the defensive. It really is what it is. He should be the one going for the takedown. And quite frankly, I think if he's on the offensive and his striking is
it's better than Islam.
I would say it is better. But Islam having high enough level striking, that's where it gets kind of scary and frightening. I think if Bobby is hesitant in this, really to go for a takedown, or hesitant on striking because of the level that Islam is at, I think it could cause some problems for him. And I think that's why the odds makers have it the way it is. It's just because it's not the best matchup for Bobby. But as a wrestler, if he takes the offensive and he's not hesitant, I think he really stands a chance here as long as he's the one getting the takedown.
That's a big ask, because these Dagestani guys don't tend to let people take them down,
right?
Ever.
Right. Well, it does happen though.
Yeah, on occasion, if it has, though, it's few and far between. But I like that strategy. But that kind of begs the question that if Bobby's shooting, even if he can get Islam to the ground or almost get him there, isn't the fear of a reversal by Islam something that might be, not recommending that strategy? Or does Bobby just need to be ready to back off really quickly?
I mean, I can tell you, with me as a wrestler, I loved it when people would go ahead and pull a switch on me. I would absolutely love that, as long as he doesn't give up his back. I think he'll be fine. That's the big thing. If he gives up his back, it's done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all there is to it. But
yeah.
If he is able to Granby appropriately or whatever, that just puts him back on the in a position where he's able to go ahead and be on his feet and strike. And I think Bobby really has the advantage there. So if Islam is going in and shooting for those takedowns, but Bobby's on the offensive, that's going to throw Islam off. That's why I'm saying that it's going to really throw him off if Bobby's on the offensive with takedowns.
Yeah, and that makes, because no one expects that. I think you're right. They don't expect that. Now, obviously, a lot of people feel if Bobby can just employ the strategy of the opposite kind of what you're saying and just constantly shut down Islam's takedown and keep it on the feet and pick him apart the whole time, a lot of people feel that is Bobby's avenue of winning. But I have a feeling that's what they're expecting in Islam's corner. Do you think
it's totally what they're expecting, and that's also why I think that strategy won't necessarily work. I think they're training for that. I think they're really ready to beat the sprawl and really going to be working on strikes coming up off of the sprawl.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could see an early knockout, quite frankly, if that is what Bobby's going for. We're going to see some sort of strike coming up out of a sprawl, or to counter a sprawl, and out goes Bobby real fast. We've seen that a lot in the last year with kicks, and really impressive ones across Bellator and UFC. And I think we'll just see another one if that's the game plan that Bobby has, is just to sprawl and try to strike as a counter to a takedown. I don't think that's going to work out so well for Bobby.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting question. Going into this fight, Bobby's coming off a win. I don't know if they've revised the ratings yet. I think they probably have, but I think Bobby's top 20. Then there's several different ratings, but I don't know if you want to look anywhere you want to look. But I have a feeling Bobby's ranked anywhere from maybe like 16th, 17th to even in the 20s. Islam Makhachev is ranked either 4th or 5th. And had this fight been with Beneil Dariush, it was going to be number 3 against, number 4 to 5, because Beneil was number 3 and Islam's number 4. Now, what do you think, Adam, if a number 20th ranked fighter beats this number 4 ranked fighter, should he all of a sudden in the next ratings be ranked number 3 or 4?
No.
Okay.
No. I think he should move up, but I think what this really does is it just moves Islam down to 6, 7, and Bobby up to like 15.
Okay, or 12, even 9. Even a huge win like this, I could even see now. So
I could see that, but at the same time, he's lost 2 out of the last 5. 2 out of
the fights are always close, so that he loses. But so here's the other question: even if they didn't bring him into the top 5, even if they brought him up to being ranked number 11 or number 9 or number 8,
it would make sense with just over a year and a half ago, or just under. It was a win against
Quinto. Yeah.
I mean, that's huge on its
Absolutely.
own.
So next question: even if a win over Islam doesn't allow him to take Islam's place in the top 5, would, however, they consider him on deck for the next title fight because Islam was on deck for the next title fight? I would think possibly.
No.
No, you don't think so?
No, I think if he loses this, it's just...
if Bobby wins this...
No, I'm saying if Islam loses this and Bobby wins this, I think it's just going to be a no-brainer, Beneil.
Beneil against Bobby?
No.
Oh, Beneil for the title. Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense. That I agree with. Now, if that's the case and Beneil gets the title shot, gets the winner of Gaethje versus Charles Oliveira, then after that, Michael Chandler's in the picture against Tony Ferguson, although Chandler came off a loss. Would you think after Beneil, Bobby Green could get next, or do you think he might be behind Michael Chandler? I don't know. I have a feeling
Bobby's going to be behind Michael Chandler. I mean, listen,
if Chandler beats Tony Ferguson, which he probably will.
He probably will, but I think really Bobby has at least even if he wins against Islam here,
got to do one more before. 2 more. And it's tough because at 35, 2 more could be in another year and a half. Or another 2 years. We'll see. I mean,
it depends on how the fight goes.
There we go.
I think, and what the medical suspensions look like.
Exactly.
There's so many different.
He'll definitely be in talks, though. Bobby will definitely be in the picture. That's for sure. And especially if he stops Islam. If he stops Islam, then his corner is going to be arguing like crazy for the next shot, even before Beneil, but he probably should not get that. It'll be exciting though. And then if you want to click on see the entire card, let's take a look since we've got a little time before our next guest. Okay, co-main is Misha Serkinov against Wellington Turman. You know what's so weird about that? Big respect to both guys, but aren't they both coming off a loss? Can you look at them?
Absolutely, I can.
I think Misha is coming off 2 losses in a row. So that's kind of interesting. You're going to get a co-main event after 2 losses in a row.
Yeah, I forgot Wellington did beat Sam Alvey.
Okay, and that was barely. That was questionable. Most people, including me, thought Sam Alvey won that fight. And before that, he lost 2 in a row. So you have a guy who has a questionable victory in his last fight and 2 losses before that, going up against a guy who's 2 losses in a row. Both men are 1-2 in their last 3 fights, and they're fighting for a UFC co-main event. That's a bit odd, isn't it?
It is.
That's something that I think a lot of fans, it's good that this is not, or is this a pay-per-view? This is a pay-per-view, isn't it? Is this UFC 172? I think it is, isn't it?
Yes. No, it's Fight Night.
Fight Night. You know what? It originally, I think, was pay-per-view, but it's not. Or maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so this is not a pay-per-view. Yeah, there was no way they get away.
I was just looking at the rest of the card. I'm like,
yeah, there's no way. There's no way. Because then who do they have in the co-main event? The co-main event, you have Priscilla Cachoeira against Ji Young Jun. Kim. It's hard to see here. Anyway, who knows about that fight? But there is an exciting fight in the 4th fight of the night. The man on the left, Arman Tsarukyan, he gave Islam all he could handle. That fight was a tough fight. Look at the record of Arman Tsarukyan, Adam. This guy is a beast.
Yeah, 6-1.
The second one, not that Arman, the other Arman.
Nope.
Yep. The one right. It's funny. There's Arman and Arman.
Yep.
But Arman Tsarukyan, look at his record.
17-2.
17-2, and his last loss was against Islam Makhachev, and since then he's won 3 in a row, or 4 in a row. Can you see? If you go down a little bit, but anyway, Joel Alvarez beat Thiago Moises, and you know what's interesting about that? Moises and Tsarukyan both fought against Islam, and both did pretty well against him. So Joel Alvarez came in and took out Thiago Moises. In fact, just worked him, man. He just looked like he had Thiago Moises' number. But gonna tell you this, ain't happening against Arman Tsarukyan.
Right.
I think, honestly, one of the best bets of the night is that Tsarukyan beats Joel Alvarez. I'm not a Joel Alvarez hater, but Tsarukyan's a killer. I mean, he's really, and he's a kid. He's 25 years old. But it will be a good fight because Alvarez is for real. And the odds on this have got to be pretty close. I think Tsarukyan is a slight favorite. But Tsarukyan, man, I'm telling you, 25 years old, this dude's not even in his prime yet. And he hung toe-to-toe for the entire 3 rounds against Islam Makhachev. So I got Arman Tsarukyan in that fight, but definitely 2 really good young prospects. That's going to be a fun fight. And then you have the Armen Petrosyan fight against Gregory Rodriguez. Hard for me to see. Can you make the fonts at all bigger on there, Adam?
That's as big as it goes right now.
I gotcha. All right. A couple of women's fights. Terrence McKinney was on our show. Who's Terrence got fighting? Ooh, Faris Zayam. That's an interesting fight. Can we see what Faris has done lately? I think he had a couple losses and a couple wins. 2 wins in a row. What am I saying? Yeah, so after his loss, he is, and he's actually only had that 1 loss out of his last 10 fights. And what's his record? Faris Zayam is like 12-3. And our guy, Terrence McKinney, is 11-3, and he's coming off 2 good wins in a row. Actually, 4 wins, 2 of them in the UFC. I was just gonna say, what are you? Really quick, look at 1 minute and 12 seconds in his UFC debut, and then to follow that up. No, wait a second. Is that LFA? No, sorry. Okay, so he's only had that one fight in the UFC. He did catch Matt Frivola very quickly. He was scheduled for another fight that was canceled, and so this will be his second foray into the UFC. Really cool dude, T-Rex. We had a great chat with him, I think, about 3 or 4 months ago. This is going to be a good fight, another good fight with up-and-coming young contenders. And I got Terrence McKinney, T-Rex, in that. And let's see if there's anything else that's interesting on that card.
Jinyu Frey against Hannah Goldie.
We did have Hannah Goldie on here. That's going to be an interesting fight. Hannah Goldie is really tough. This is an important fight for both of them. Hannah's coming off a good win over Emily Whitmire. She had 2 losses before then, so she is 1-2 in the UFC. It's really important that you're going to be 2-2 instead of 1-3 in the UFC. So she's going to fight hard. Jinyu Frey was the atomweight champion in Invicta for several years. She started her UFC career out with 2 losses, and at like 36 years old, the talk was that she was done. The talk was that she might not even get a chance for a 3rd fight. She comes back and looks really good in her 3rd fight, and in her 4th fight against Ashley Yoder, really close fight. I'm kind of a little bit cloudy on that fight. I'm thinking it was one that I felt that Ashley Yoder.
It was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Nobody's upset with you not really.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I watched so many fights since then, but I'm thinking that Ashley Yoder was really in that one.
We did just interview Ashley right before that. But
yeah, Ashley's a really great fighter, and I thought it was really close, and then maybe Ashley could have got the victory, but I may be wrong. But Jenna is tough. Jenna's got this shredded body. Even though she's fighting a weight class above the weight class that would be perfect for her, it was always a hard cut, and she's a little bit older now anyway. But this is a good fight. This is a kind of a possibly loser go home fight, and I don't want anyone to lose their job, and the loser may yet get another UFC fight, but it'll be in jeopardy. Both women are going to fight real hard. They need the victory here. Zhu Rong is tough, and he is coming off a win, and he's against Ignacio Bahamondes. And Bahamondes is coming off, I think, a win and a loss? Yeah.
Yep.
Bahamondes was the last fighter that got a decision against our friend Chris Brown in the LFA, and it was really close. And, Chris has killed it since then. I think we're going to see Chris any day in the UFC, but Bahamondes
any
is
day.
Tough. Gotta be. It's got to be. They can't make him wait much longer. They really can't.
If they make him wait any longer, I think they're crazy.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid. He's legit. He can be a force at 170.
And he's got the personality too.
He
to
does.
Be an all-star.
He does, and he's more than ready. He's very mature. He's like 34 years old, which is not young, but he's not too old, or 33. And he can.
I think he's at the height of. I think he's at his prime and could come in and just tear things up for the next 2 or 3 years.
He really could. I think he really could, and I can't wait to see him there. Chris or Christopher Brown, depending on where you look, out of Jackson Wink, longtime training partner of John Jones and Holly Holm. Bahamondes, 24 years old. Is that 24 or 26? 24, right?
24.
Yeah, I always tend to fade these guys that are under 26 years old in the UFC. I mean, I may be off sometimes when they pull out a big win, but I do feel that for the most part, a lot of these young guys don't come in and immediately light it on fire. One more comment, actually a little bit more from Eric Paulson. Let me see. Okay, and searching. All right. So Coach Eric Paulson talked to several people that he knows, and he knows a lot of people that are absolutely legendary coaches and top competitors. And he said they do feel that that Bobby has a puncher's chance, but it's unlikely overall, kind of like the odds makers say. And I
think he has better than a puncher's chance. In all reality, I really do. I think if he goes with that strategy that I was talking about, I think he's going to come in and he's going to surprise people. In fact, actually, I'm going to say it here. I'm the guy that calls it these. That's what he's going to do, and I'm not going to call the win, but that's what he's going to do. Yeah. And if he does, I think he has a real good chance of winning.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a Rocky story. You know how the original Rocky story was a club fighter fighting for $10 here or there in the 70s, which would be like fighting for $100 now. gets a chance in a ridiculous scenario to fight for the heavyweight championship with probably a record of 25-25, you know, right? So this isn't quite like that, but in all honesty, Bobby Green like just kept on being left out of the conversation because the judges kept on choosing him to lose close fights. And it just seemed like no matter what he did, he was always 2, 3, 4 fights away from getting a big fight. And then even if he won, the judges would say you lost, and then he was another 2, 3, 4 fights away from a big fight. And then he could win again in a close fight and get pinned with a loss, and then he was still 2, 3, 4 fights away from. So it was looking like he was never going to get the big fight. And finally here at 35 years old, I think he's been in the sport for like 13 years, 12 or 13 years. He was in Strikeforce. I think he's been in the UFC for like 7, 8 years. Finally, he gets a shot. So he's going to make a good payday. It's going to be a main event of a UFC card. It's not a pay-per-view, but still a main event. And he's getting it on like 8 days notice, right? And he fought 2 weeks earlier, but still, can you imagine how excited he is? I mean, to finally get the shot. Circumstances not ideal. I don't know anyone that wants to fight Islam Makhachev on 8 or 9 days notice, but I think Bobby realized that this was the only way he was going to get something like this. Right. The only way he was going to get a break, unless he somehow could just keep dominating like he did in his last fight, would be that someone falls out and they say, hey, Mr. Green, you want to go up against an absolute murderer? Oh yeah, it's 8 days notice. You know, is something like that. Right. And I bet you they didn't even hesitate. I bet you they did not even hesitate. They said, let me think. Yeah, I'm in. Yeah. You know, who's the fight against? Oh, Makhachev, I'm in.
So here's another one coming up. We haven't talked about this card. Bellator 275.
Right, and by the way, we're only 5 minutes away from our guest.
Excellent. So Gegard Mousasi against Austin Vanderford.
Interesting
what do you
fight.
think's going to happen with this one? This really is interesting. That's why I had to bring it up.
It is. So Mousasi was a longtime Bellator middleweight champion, and he lost, but I want to see who he lost to. Can you click on Mousasi? I think he lost the title in the last couple fights. Oh, it was to Salter. So his last, John Lovato Jr. Sorry about that. So Lovato Jr. did beat him, and since then he's beaten Machida by a split. He beat Douglas Lima, and Lima actually came up to fight him from welterweight, and then he did beat John Salter. So he is working his way back to that middleweight title. Let's take a look at Vanderford. Vanderford, what school is he out of? Is this Sanford MMA, or can you see?
It's saying Gracie Baja, Portland.
Okay, all right. And who is he fought in his last few fights? He's been with Bellator for a little while. Beat Colby James, beat Joseph Creer. Who's the next guy?
Gracie Bazinia.
Okay.
Bazinian.
And then he beat our friend Vinny. Vinny.
Oh yeah,
he beat Vinny, and Vinny's a tough dude. Yep. And then his last fight, who did he beat? Fabian Edwards. That's Leon Edwards' brother. That was a big win. So he's beat some good guys, but he has nowhere near the experience on a high level as Gegard Mousasi. What's the difference in their age? Gegard's got to be 10 years older, I bet. Let's take a look. Gegard's what, 38 or something?
36.
And
31, so okay. 5 years difference.
5 years difference. You know, Gegard has been in this sport, though, since he was like 18. He's got like 18 years of abuse on his body, although he's such a slick fighter. And he's got, I think, 2-inch height advantage on Vanderford. Vanderford's undefeated, though. I just noticed at 11-0. Yikes. This is a big fight.
Yeah, but you're talking levels. Levels.
You are, but at 36 and having been a pro since he was 18, a lot of people will probably agree Gegard Mousasi of 2022 is not the same Gegard Mousasi of 2018, 2019,
Oh, no, I agree with that, but you're talking levels to this.
Right, so, right. And I think that's what Gegard's going to try to impose that. So in reality, this is a big ask for Vanderford, although I wonder what the odds makers think. Can you click on the best fight odds?
I'll let you know what they are. You're not going to see it, but it is.
It's going to be close, probably. Maybe slight favorite favored Mousasi, or
negative 250 for
minus
Mousasi.
Okay, yeah. So that's almost
plus 200.
All right, so about 2.5 to 1 favored Mousasi. That makes sense. Mousasi probably wins this, but I tell you what, would it be considered a stupid bet to put some money on Vanderford? No. Do I think he's going to win for sure? No, but it's you can't know for sure. But anything close, tough fight though. This could be the changing of the guard, and I think Mousasi doesn't want that at 36. I'm pretty sure Mousasi feels he's got at least another 2 years, 3 years in this, maybe even 4. But I think Vanderford, this would be huge for Vanderford. In fact, a win over Mousasi, Vanderford probably will be next in line for that middleweight title.
Yep.
And which I think is still held by Lovato, although I may be wrong. Sometimes I miss some of the Bellator action. I sure wish that Bellator would put out do more promotion so we can be up on all their stuff. You and me have talked about this for 5 years since we've had this show, is that Bellator is a very legit organization with some really, really world-class fighters, and you never see a billboard anywhere for Bellator.
Yeah, I know. It's a little crazy. I mean, they have such a high level of talent.
And they just don't promote it.
And they just don't promote it. So it just blows my mind.
It really does. I mean, you know about social media and marketing. So it's easy to say you could do a better job, but not to try to insult them. But I honestly feel like I could do a better job if I was head of marketing. And I'm not that guy.
They do a decent job with PR, but marketing is kind of...
The promotion of marketing, I mean, I just feel like, so get some billboards about Bellator, right?
Right. Place them in LA. That's the place to do it. All right, Colin. Well, you want to go ahead? And Patrick's already, so we can go.
Let's do it. Patrick, can you hear me? Patrick, can you hear me?
Hey, brother, I can hear you.
Fabulous.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. We want to make sure we have video connection, so if you'll hit that video button, it looks like an old camera with a line going across it, which means that there's no video. Once you hit it, we'll see you within a matter of a couple of seconds. And then if you hit that, we will have the audio and the video, and you probably won't be able to see us, but if you see that you're in the frame, then you're good. My producer just told me he sees you. So great. Since we're live, brother, let me give you a proper introduction, as I always do. So excited to have this next fighter on the show for the very first time, joining a list of many top contenders and UFC champions on a 5-fight win streak in the UFC featherweight division out of the great fighting state of Pennsylvania, Mr. Patrick Sabatini. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thank you for having me, brother.
My pleasure. So do you like to go by Pat more or Patrick, or does it not matter?
You just call me Pat. That's fine.
Sounds good, Pat. All right, and let me ask my producer, am I not going to be able to see him, Doctor? Or... because I'm not seeing, we're still seeing that. All right, we'll do a little switch here, some technical challenges, and we'll continue talking while my producer does that, Pat. So I'm excited to have you on here, man. I've been watching your career for a while, and you're on a great 5-fight win streak, man. You seem like a great guy. You're over there, Philly tough, pretty much. I guess on one website it shows you from what, Bristol or Pennsylvania, or what's the city? It's not Philly, but it's something near there, right? Oop. All of a sudden, we have no sound for you, Pat. See what happened. Pat, can you hear me? Okay, I think you're probably hearing me, but for some reason, we're getting no sound on you. Doc, that has to be on his end, right? Okay, so my producer checked. We're hardwired here. Pat, do you think anything got pulled out, or let me ask my producer, Adam, what do you think could have happened that could have killed his sound? He doesn't know. Oh, okay. Pat, I think my producer says something went out on our end. I apologize. This normally does not happen. You can ask our mutual friend, Jason. We're usually smooth, 100% slick. I appreciate your patience, but yeah, so we're going to try to make sure we have the sound, because that's a key thing, because not all of us can read lips. In fact, most of us can't. So I appreciate your patience, bro. So as we are working to get the sound, do you think we should probably do a callback situation? Okay, so do you want him to call us or we call him, Doc? We'll call you. Why don't we disconnect, Pat? We'll call you. We'll get the sound right back. Awesome. Thank you, brother. Appreciate all you guys watching. This is rare that this happens. Can you hear me, Pat?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Beautiful. Appreciate your patience on that, man.
Of course, no problem, bro.
Cool. So we were talking about what city you're from originally in Pennsylvania, because it's near Philly, but it isn't Philly proper, right?
Yes, it's Bristol, Pennsylvania. It's about 20 minutes north of Philly, so Philly's very close.
Beautiful. I've heard of Bristol, Connecticut, but not Bristol, Philadelphia, Bristol, Pennsylvania, rather. What's that like?
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because I think in my first fight in the UFC, they were mentioning Bristol, Connecticut, and then they had to make adjustments. Bristol, Pennsylvania. It's a small town, it's right on the border of Jersey, and grew up there, love the town, great people, close-knit community, and I have a lot of support there.
Very cool. Now, let me throw out a question first. I'm thinking I always like to come up with really good questions. That's something I'm known for, not only with the interviews on our show for 5 years, but at UFC post-fight press conferences. When we show up, we take pride in asking the questions that elicit great responses and also some interesting questions that are not asked. So here's a question that I will promise you've not been asked by any show, podcast, ESPN, nothing before, and it's a little bit silly, but we'll do it anyway. Which professional athlete had a lot of success in the last 30 years, and in which sport that had the last name Sabatini?
You know what? I think I know this. It was a tennis player, right?
That's right. That's the sport. You got 1 out of 2, and that's impressive because I know this is probably right about when you were born. And but that's probably, you probably won't guess the name or the gender, or can you?
Gabriella.
That's it. You didn't just look. You didn't just look somewhere, did you? I don't think so, because I was looking at you. You look straight on forward. You got it. Nice. I think she was like an Argentinian Italian or something like that. Beautiful girl way back in the day. Probably no relation, right?
Yeah, no relation. The only reason I know that too is somebody actually asked me that before, if I was related. And I was like, no. And I looked it up, and sure enough, a lot of pages came up for her, and her tennis career is awesome.
Absolutely. So also, I think you turned a light that actually made it very dark where you are. I think you were trying to do the opposite, and then it actually made it dark. If you can't change it, that's okay. I don't want to try to cause you to do all kinds of different stuff, because we can still see you. It just looks like you're in a dark room.
Yeah, let me try to work on that. Right.
No problem. And if you can't, it's no huge deal. It's not the worst. We've talked to people in their cars and other stuff, and But while you're doing that, and if you can't change it, hey, beautiful, that's better. Wait, okay, yeah, good, sweet, perfect. Love it. It's changing. It seems like it's like flickering, but that's fine. You're good. So, all right, let's talk some MMA. So in Philly, a lot of guys from Philly have trained together, even though they were on different teams. Because I think Paul Felder is a Philly guy, but then he went over and trained at Duke Rufus's in Wisconsin for many years. But then yet I've heard he and a lot of you Philly guys have trained together. Can you tell me where are Philly guys training together? Because I don't know of any really big gyms in Philly. And have you trained with Paul Felder? And what are the names of some of the other guys that maybe have been at different gyms but have actually trained together with other guys from around Philly?
Of course, it's basically Daniel Gracie and Coach John Marquez, and they coach like myself. Paul Felder has trained with them. Sean Brady. Andre Petrosky, and I'm sure you probably saw his fight. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Jeremiah Wells.
Right. Absolutely. Definitely some amazing guys. And so you personally trained with all those guys a little bit?
Absolutely.
Nice. What an amazing team. Felder's doing a great job on the mic and had an amazing career. The other guys are doing great. Sean Brady obviously is killing it. You're killing it. Brady's at 155, right? One division above you, or am I wrong?
No, he's 170.
That's right. Okay. And did you see when he went over in that grappling matchup against Craig Jones? That was a trip. Now, in that card, they had the submission-only experts not be able to do leg locks. And it makes sense, because in reality, there's not enough money in submission grappling to make a UFC fighter or Dana White want you guys to risk breaking your leg. It makes sense. I can't No one can put that down, right?
I believe I definitely agree with it, but I think you're allowed leg locks, but just not heel hooks specifically.
You could be right, because I know in jiu-jitsu, I'm not like a high-level jiu-jitsu guy, but I'm a purple belt hoping one day to get to brown and my body doesn't break down. I'm an older guy, so I may never get there. But I know that I may be wrong. I feel that like in some of the matches, it was no leg locks at all, but I could be wrong. But I know that because Craig Jones, that's his thing. Right. And I know Craig Jones is not Gordon Ryan. We've actually had Gordon on the show, as well as Marcus Almeida, Pachecha, Mason Fowler, some really good dudes there. And, but I know that like in that fight, along with the Danielle Kelly against Carla Esparza fight, we had Carla on the show. I'm pretty sure it was no leg locks at all. Now, question for you. When that rule is in there, stopping the submission only experts from using like their go-to bread and butter technique, probably the UFC fighters realize that if that provision wasn't there, it'd be a much more dangerous matchup, right?
I agree, but one thing I will say, particularly about Sean's match, like Sean, like obviously there is a bias because I am Sean's teammate and everything. He is a different animal, man. He even in that match, I don't think Craig was even able to get under him at all, or in any opportunities to even get to his leg.
Yeah. He's supposed to be strong. I think, like he said, when he went up against Michael Chiesa was saying, "Man, you're strong." So yeah, I can imagine Brady. Brady is really good, and even though you're 2 weight divisions apart, you probably can give each other some good looks sometimes, right?
Oh, dude, he's on another level, man.
Definitely makes it tough when someone just as good as you is 2 weight divisions higher. But iron sharpens iron, man. That's one of the cool things about it. And that was a really, really good fight for, and I guess he had started out kind of grappling in that organization and wanted to come back. So that was cool. And I wasn't trying to take anything away from them, but a lot of the submission guys and girls are looking at MMA, and it seems like a few are now with one championship. I know you got Gary Tunnon over there, and he competes at featherweight, right?
Yes, I believe so.
What would you think of an MMA match with Gary Tunnon if he was in the UFC? I'm sure you'd take it in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah, I don't say no to anybody. Just if my coaches give me the thumbs up, I'm all in for whoever, man.
You think if Gary Tunnon was in the UFC, he could win some fights, or you think it'd be difficult?
Oh, no, absolutely. Gary Tunnon is an amazing athlete, super tough fighter. He could pose a problem to anybody.
And then you got Danielle Kelly, who just signed over there at 1. I think she'll do good. They got some interesting fighters, some good fighters over there. But UFC is killing it, man. So many great events. So one of the things that I noticed about you, and I've been following fights, honestly. I was watching fights with my dad when I was like 6 years old. And right, so it doesn't put me on the level as someone like yourself who watched, did it, and trained and is a professional. So I never try to fool myself as far as that. But the fact that I've been a fan for so long, I trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I trained Muay Thai, I trained some traditional karate. I'm still absolutely not putting myself up with someone like yourself. But as far as for someone that's not a pro, having watched for so many years and trained, I do feel good about my perspective, because to an extent I know what it feels like, right? And a minor extent. So what I'm leading up to is that over the years, I've seen some fighters win fights by just showing a lot of tenacity and a lot of mental strength and fortitude, right? And I recognize that in some fighters, but it usually takes several fights for it to be repeated for me to kind of say, okay, this guy looks like she's got some chops. And so I've seen that from you. I remember there's several other fighters we've had on the show. The other one that comes into mind is Marlon Chito Vera, Matt Semmelsberger, just some really mentally strong guys that are going to go out there there and either win, or if you lose, it'll be barely. You're not going to get smoked. You're not going to get embarrassed. You're not going to get completely annihilated. And what is it that allows you to be on that level? So many guys want to get in the UFC and they can't even get in because they get smashed by the time they get up into some other organizations. Then guys get into UFC and so many of them get absolutely annihilated and then they're out. And then some guys are in the UFC, but it's win one, lose one, win two, lose two. How do you get to be a guy who's in there killing it like you? How can you constantly be, better than your opponents and not go in there and get hurt and get caught and get smashed and knocked cold or submitted?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the compliment, brother. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. You deserve it.
Honestly, I always keep a student's mentality, and I always stay humble in victory and defeat. There's always something to learn. There's always someone out there, that is better in every aspect. That's how I look at this, and it keeps me hungry. It keeps me motivated to learn, and I know I'll never be a finished product, but I want to strive to be as best as I could be. And I just feel like this is the beginning for me. Like, I feel like I have a long way to go. I feel like I've come a long way, but I still have a very long way to go. And I just, every fight camp, it's me versus the person in the mirror. The opponent never really matters. It's me versus me. I just want to be better for every fight that I approach. I want to be better than I was for the last fight, and that keeps me motivated.
Makes sense. So where do you train? And I know you mentioned the team, I think, before, but remind us and tell us who's normally there working with you, and if it's not a secret, who's working with you for this camp.
Of course. So I split my training up between Marquez MMA, Team Daniel Gracie, NPR Endurance, and Jonathan Webb's Webb Fitness and MMA. A lot of good guys there, guys I've been training with for years. And I truly believe in my coaches. If they tell me I need to work on this, I need to work on that. We go way back. They've seen me on my worst days, my best days, and I wouldn't want to go to battle with anybody else in my corner.
Absolutely. So let's go into your athletic background. A lot of guys started out with wrestling. Some started out with like karate or kickboxing. Some were playing football. Where did it start? Go back to like maybe junior high or something, and maybe give us the more exciting, interesting points. You don't have to tell us what you had to lunch or you had different girlfriends in high school. Not that you were going to, but give me a little bit about the progression and succession of which sports you were involved in, starting, let's say, in junior high school or whenever you started.
Sure thing. So basically, when I was like 5 or 6, I was getting bullied in school, and my parents put me into karate, which was like Tang Sudo. Mm-hmm. And I was doing that probably up until the age of 9 or 10. Then I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which my old instructor, Tom McGonigal, he started training with the Machado brothers, like Higa Machado. Mm-hmm. So that kind of introduced me to Jiu-Jitsu, fell in love with Jiu-Jitsu. And I didn't get into wrestling till like 14 or 15 years old. Did that all through high school. And in high school, I got involved with like the boxing, kickboxing, and had my first amateur fight when I was 17 for MMA. And I wrestled in college for 2 years. Then I got into combat sambo, which was awesome. I got to travel all over the place, learn from people in the East, from like Russia, Kazakhstan.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was really, really cool experience. It definitely helped tie, everything together. But from like age 17 till I think like 22, I had my like amateur career, and I turned pro at 23.
Nice. It's just everything was at such a good time to be good and to be solid when you're young like that. You know what I mean? And I think that's almost like a perfect sweet spot at 23 with all that experience you had to start your pro career. Because right away, like you kind of knew what was coming more than some young guys who just somehow have a couple of amateur fights and have just a wrestling background or just played football. So it seems like you really had that preparation. It's interesting that you were in combat sambo, going to Russia and all those Eastern Bloc countries. That's definitely a baptism by fire there, because those guys are tough. That's something that I think that you have as well, and Sean Brady has as well. That is just that toughness and that grittiness. And I know that's definitely helped. Were there ever any periods of time, because no one has every single fight go their way, especially when they're in their teens and and you're doing amateur fights and you're a combat sambo. Were there ever any fights that just went so bad that you felt like saying, man, maybe I must not be good enough at this. Maybe I ought to just dump this before I get all my teeth knocked out and my nose broken, because I don't think I'm that good based on this fight. Did anything like that ever happen?
Oh, absolutely. So I think it was like 6 fights ago. I ended up dislocating my elbow and my right shoulder in a fight. It was in the first minute of the first round, and it was a fight that could have potentially put me in the UFC in front of a home crowd. And man, when I really did think it was over, and right after that happened, I entered a little bit of a dark period of time. But the people around me, my coaches, my girlfriend, my parents, my good friends, they lifted me up when I was down. I kind of went in with a new focus, and since then, I've been on the 5-fight winning streak, and got my chance to get into the UFC. And moving before every fight, I kind of watch that video of that happening to me, and it kind of gives me motivation.
I like it. Makes sense, because I think it is true. The majority of spiritual growth is attained through adversity, is it not?
Absolutely, through tragedy.
Absolutely, and it made you stronger. So let me ask you, in a fight, one of the things I think people love to see in a fight is a back and forth fight. And I know ever since I was really young watching boxing, I never, no one wants to see one guy just beating the shit out of the other guy unless it's the guy winning, right? Because then, you get out of there quicker and easier, right? But as a fan, and most fans, no one really, people would much rather see back and forth, the tide turning. And after I had watched sports, combat sports for about 5 years, which was when I was about 11, I finally said to myself, man, you know what? Most fights are not really going to be that way, because of the fact that one guy kind of figures the other guy out and realizes that he's better, and then just kind of keeps it in his wheelhouse from there, and either finishes the other guy or just basically, wins the fight. That's why in MMA there's so many 30-27 fights. Now, there are definitely 29-28 fights, but there's a lot of 30-27, 30-27, 30-27 where that happens. And so what is it in the fight that makes that happen? Does the guy on the losing end kind of just start to give up? Does he kind of like, not break, but does he kind of like realize that this guy's a better wrestler than me, this guy's a better striker than me, this isn't really going my way, I'm going to do the best I can, but what am I going to do to change this unless I do something crazy, and then I can come in and probably get knocked out or submitted? I mean, does that happen a lot? And is it a mental thing, or at the highest level, does that not really happen? And even the guy that's losing, is just keeping his confidence, but it just doesn't get anything. Is it more of that? Is it more that they mentally are a little bit kind of broken and just kind of figure this is what it is, or does that not really happen, but they just can't do anything to turn the tide?
So I think in a fight, there's so many factors that could play into that, but one in particular that I think comes down to it a lot is, for example, say you have guy A who's 12-0 versus guy B who's like I don't know, 8-2 or 8-3.
Right.
Let's say they fight. You expect the 12-0 guy to come out on top, but it all goes down to your experience. I feel like there's guys out there with not the best records, but have fought like just monsters their whole career. I feel like that conditions a fighter, better for those situations where, say, things aren't going right in the fight. They have that experience, that callus in their mind where, I've been here before. I can make these adjustments. Where, on the other hand, it might be the person's first time because maybe they fought a bunch of people that, they were way better than.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, without a doubt. And how about coaching? That's another thing that's really interesting. Like sometimes you see a fight, and I remember a fight a few months back with women where one woman was going up in weight on short notice to the featherweight class. You might remember this fight. And it was short notice. She had missed weight the previous week, and she was going up in weight against a bigger girl, and everything was going wrong. And her coach kept on kind of saying, come on, you look terrible. You're not doing anything. Get in there and do you fight. And then the next round was the same. And the next round he was saying kind of the same thing. You're doing nothing. Get in there and fight. Do this. I mean, I guess he was kind of telling her some things to do, but she couldn't do it. It's like she couldn't do it. And I think what a lot of people don't understand that have never trained is that if you're not as good as someone and you have to resort to trying some crazy shit, that's probably not going to work out either. You know what I mean? Like, you probably know if you're better than a guy and you're beating him, and no matter what he tries, it doesn't work, and then all of a sudden he says, all right, I'm just going to do a jump flying knee against Pat, or I'm going to come in and try to do like some, Imanari roll, you're going to probably smash the guy. So doing something crazy isn't really going to work either. Or should they do that? Or is there something, I mean, it's got to be a frustrating feeling if you're not as good as someone, or you're not as good as someone that night, and your coach is kind of yelling at you saying you're doing nothing. What is that feeling? I'm sure you haven't felt that, but what's going on in that dynamic? What is that? Why does that happen? And is there something a coach could do different, or what can a fighter do when something where they're just every round they're being beaten in all aspects of the fight? I know it's a lot of questions rolled into one, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I think that everyone's different. Like, there's some people that respond better to positive feedback, like, oh, you're doing this good. Maybe we need a little bit more of this though. And then there's other people that need like a little bit of like a kick in the ass. Like, you got to do this, you got to do that. It all depends on the fighter. But if you're getting beat by somebody, I feel like you just gotta. I know it's a pretty basic answer, but just gotta try to take them out with whatever you can, like try to push the pace, try to hunt the finish if you're down on the scorecards.
Right, just really go for it. I mean, should you try crazy stuff? I mean, can that ever work, or is that something that probably is not advisable? It seems like most fighters don't really ever try any crazy shit. I mean, a lot of times the commentators are saying, let me see some urgency, and then they really don't. But I mean, what do you think? Do you think maybe the person should try some desperate crazy stuff if it's not working?
Anything could happen in a fight, man. You're always one good strike or one good takedown, one good submission attempt from, either turning the tides or finishing the fight. So why not go for it?
Absolutely. And with coaching, obviously good coaching is really important. It's probably not being given enough credit, but I guess one of the most important things with good coaching is strategy. Now, is a lot of strategy kind of laid out by the coaches before a fight, which is why maybe sometimes you don't hear a lot of it in between rounds? Or do you think we should be hearing a lot of coaches say exactly what they want. Sometimes you do, like saying, you know, look, you're moving to your right too much. You got to stop it. Start moving to your left. You're not, you know, you're not stopping the takedown. You're not sprawling quick enough. You're not, I mean, should there be a lot more details on exactly what's going wrong? And if so, is a minute not a long enough time to do that? Or what do you think as far as good coaching? What would you like to see in every fighter's corner if they could have the best coaching?
So I think most of the coaching should be done before the fight, as far as like knowing strategy, just the training is what I think is the most important part. But at the same time, in between rounds during the fight, a coach might call out like a number or a name, and that should give the fighter like a little light bulb should go off, like, oh, okay, let me go try that. You know what I'm saying? Because it should be something that's already trained and ingrained into the fighters' techniques.
Absolutely makes sense. How about adjustment? This is something that I think is really unique. It seems like only the better fighters or the better camps are able to really make adjustments if the first round didn't go their way. And I think a lot of people don't understand why it's not happening more. But tell me your thoughts on that. What is it that makes being able to make a serious adjustment after the first round so difficult, and why do you only seem to really see that with the better fighters and the better camps?
I think you see that with people that are more seasoned, have been in these kind of situations before, and people that have a higher fight IQ as far as knowing what to do. Like, for example, if this isn't working, let me try this. If that's not working, let me try this. Good example. One of my favorite fighters, Petr Yan.
Yeah. He's
like a master at studying his opponents during the fight and making those adjustments, even not even in between rounds, just in the middle, like the middle of the action. It's amazing to see, and I think it only comes with experience and time.
Makes sense, because it is difficult. It's difficult kind of when you've got a training strategy so much and you're in there under the fire, in the fire, to be able to change what you're doing. Yeah, it's definitely, and that's something why I like the seasoned fighters. And I think sometimes older fighters are surprising people with victories because they're able to adjust in a fight, whereas the younger fighter really isn't. And so, I like that. That's why I think there will always be some older fighters that keep on winning because they're just so seasoned. Like, look at that Jim Miller fight, man. I mean, I had a feeling that would happen, and I know that wasn't the best opponent in the world. It's kind of, and no disrespect to his opponent, but a guy making his UFC against Jim Miller, even if Jim Miller is 38 years old, is kind of a big ask. For sure. But the guy had a really good record and was young, but it just seemed kind of like the experience factor just played out. Jim was able to absolutely adjust to what this guy did and just, kind of, put him in a washing machine, a spin cycle, and, eventually take him out.
I actually didn't see that fight, but yeah, I know Jim Miller has so many fights in the UFC. That experience, that's like that's a priceless tool right there, that kind of experience.
Without a doubt. Let me ask your opinion if I could, and I won't keep you too much longer, but I really appreciate your time, man, and really enjoyed talking to you. So, big fight coming up, and it was going to be Islam Makhachev against Beneil Dariush. We've interviewed Beneil many times, and we've interviewed Islam's coach, Javier Mendez, many times. And that was an amazing fight. I'm sure you'd agree that was going to be such an amazing fight. It's so unfortunate that Beneil got hurt. It's unfortunate that a lot of guys on their keyboards are going to try to talk trash and say, oh, Beneil didn't want that fight. I mean, and Beneil is a very chill, spiritual, religious guy, so I'm sure he doesn't care. But to me, it's just so stupid that anyone would try to say Beneil or his camp didn't want that fight. I'm sure you agree with me on that, right?
Oh, I definitely agree. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone makes noise with their mouth, but it is what it is. It's part of the sport. But I'm sure there's a good reason for it. I think Islam Makhachev is going to be the next champion in that weight class.
Yeah,
he's on another level, man.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Bobby Green fight, though. For this fight to happen for Bobby Green, it makes me happy. Bobby Green is one of these veterans that it seems like the judges just don't like him. Literally, it looks like the judges, look at him and say, if it's a close fight, I'm making that dude the loser. It's just amazing how many fights and you know what the sad thing is, I was talking to my co-host and my producer about this, and I've noticed this ever since boxing. I really believe some of these judges look at a fight on who's the A side and who isn't. And I think that in the beginning, Bobby had a pretty good record. He always fought everyone tough, and then he was, on the wrong end of some really close decisions. And then I really feel like judges look and say, here we have a guy who's, 15-7 against a guy who's like 10-1. Let's have the guy 10-1 win the decision because it'll be better for the promotion, and then I can get more jobs judging. And it really makes me mad because I know not a single judge in the world would admit to that, but it seems to be too much of a coincidence. It happens so much, right? And to me, Bobby Green could have a really good record. I would not be surprised if more than half of his losses could have been wins, But, and sorry to not give you a chance to comment on that, but I know I see you nodding and I see you agree. So this is a guy who, no matter what he did, he was always like 3 or 4 fights away from a big fight. And even when he would win, they would tag a loss on his record, and he would still be 3 or 4 fights away from a big fight. He's 35 years old, I think. It must have looked possibly to him and his team like he just was never going to get that big fight. And all of a sudden, he gets it. Unfortunately, it's on 8 days' notice or 7 days' notice against a guy like Islam Makhachev, but I have a feeling they didn't even hesitate. And all of a sudden, Bobby Green has a chance. God bless him. I'm so happy he's going to get some money for sure. He fought 2 weeks ago, which I was also mentioning. Guys will fight huge fights on short notice, but I don't know that someone's ever fought 2 weeks earlier and then jumps into a fight with someone in the top 5. I gotta believe that's an unusual circumstance. But I do know that he's fresh after 2 weeks. And I was talking to a friend of mine, Eric, the Viking Paulson from CSW, longtime coach and former Shuto champion. He felt even at 35 years old, 2 weeks notice is gonna be fine. 2 weeks between his last fight is gonna be fine. So gotta have your opinion. I know you stated already that Islam's going to be the next champion, so obviously that mentions who he thinks wins this fight. But what can Bobby do here? Could this extra motivation from this opportunity and just all the experience he has, he's going to be the best he can be. If you were in Bobby Green's corner, what can we do? What can Bobby do as far as to make this, give himself the best chance possible against Islam Makhachev?
So, I'm happy for him, man. It's a great opportunity, and that's a lot. That's a lot what the sport's about. When opportunity knocks, he'd be a fool not to answer.
Right.
I think if Bobby Green goes out there and fights his fight, he could beat him. That's a very tough fight. Even on a short notice, he still has a good chance to win.
Yeah, and he's got the striking, even though Makhachev is a better striker than Khabib, arguably, and he's comfortable. He did get caught that once, and Bobby is slick. My producer and co-host wrestled in Iowa in high school and junior high, not in college, but still, if you're even in grammar school in Iowa, right, you got some tough guys you're wrestling against. He suggested that maybe as a surprise, Bobby Green shoot for some takedowns. And I know that probably a bunch of people are going to say definitely not. And I still respect what my producer, his partners, and business partner says, but could that happen? And if so, would he try that from the beginning? What would you think he could do with something like that? Should he be really shooting or just faking a shot? Or could he possibly catch Islam and the team by surprise doing that? Could he get a takedown?
Definitely would be unexpected. And it's a different fight when you're fighting someone that is just trying to strike compared to someone that could strike and take it down. So, it would definitely be, surprising, keep keep everyone on the edge of their seat. You know, hey, he sees the opportunity, why not?
Without a doubt, it's going to be exciting. And being that you were competing in that combat sambo, can you give us an explanation on how these guys from Dagestan, from Kazakhstan, from wherever, I forgot, Chechnya, what is it that makes some of these guys so damn good? Because if you really look at it, in your division, you got Zabit Megamed Sharapov. He's been hurt for a while, but I know he's a stud, just like yourself. And then you got all these other guys. You got Hamzat, you got Islam, you got Megamed Ankalaev. You know, these dudes. How is it that these guys from the Eastern Bloc with that combat sambo are this good?
You know, they started at a young age. It's like it's inbred in them. You know, it runs in their family. You know, they have great camps, great coaches, and it's all they do. Man, they practice every day, constant repetition, and when it comes time to fight, you know, they're hungry. You know, it comes down to hunger too. You know, they want to be the best.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your upcoming fight, Gavin Tucker. What is it, April 20th? No, earlier, right?
April the 9th.
April 9th. So this is exciting. You're probably just starting camp for that, or have you already started?
Man, I've been training since like December.
Nice. So this is going to be two opponents in a row that will have Tucker in their name. The last one, Tucker Lutz, and now you got Gavin Tucker. Speaking about the Tucker Lutz fight, that was a good fight, man. I remember when I broke that down, and I break it down with a couple different people on our show and then one other show, and then a lot of people were thinking Tucker Lutz was going to come up and do something, and the guy was tough, but I think a lot of people also gave you the credit for just the fortitude you were showing. And I just remember, you know, that I did feel, you can go, because we keep all my videos up, I did feel that you were going to win that fight, you know, out of your experience. But what did you feel in that fight? Did Tucker Lutz present everything you thought he would present? What was the same and what was different about that fight as compared to what you were expecting?
So I knew he was going to come with a lot of pressure, look to use punches. I thought he was going to kick more, like for the leg kicks. We were kind of expecting that, but he didn't kick as much as we expected. And, you know, he has good hips, good wrestling background, but we believe in what we do, and we knew we could do it. And when it came time to do it, we just executed the game plan.
Absolutely. And was that Joe Rogan that talked to you after, or was that Felder, or who talked to you afterward in that fight?
It was Daniel Cormier.
That's right. Always great to have DC in there. And so you got Gavin Tucker here. Is Tucker off of that loss to Ige, or did he fight again since then?
I believe his last fight was the Ige fight.
Okay, so he got caught quick, and that was a fight that was either even money or Tucker might have even been favored. You know, a lot of people were kind of comparing Tucker almost a little bit to your teammate Sean Brady before that fight. And then he came in and just got caught. Now, a lot of times a guy gets caught like that, he can come back and get right back on his winning streak. I think, you know, a lot of people don't know that getting caught isn't the same as getting like a sustained beatdown for 3 rounds where you just get beaten in every aspect of the game, right? It's almost like a little bit easier to possibly get over. You just pretty much can say, I just got caught. But am I right in that probably a guy like Tucker off of that fight is just going to be coming in kind of angry? I mean, could you imagine, would you, if that, you know, where all of a sudden you're on this great win streak and you go in there and just get caught like that? Are you going to come in really kind of saying, man, I need to get on the win streak. I'm going to go out and try to smash this guy next. Is that what you would feel? And what do you think he's feeling?
Not exactly, because I feel like if you let your emotions get the best of you, it'll be your downfall. And, you know, I don't know what's going on in his head. I know I would want to get right back in, you know, get back on a streak. But, you know, we'll see April 9th.
Absolutely. Do you think it would make him more anxious in the beginning to try to just immediately go out there. In fact, that's a good question I had. If you get caught like that, you probably don't want to walk in and get caught again. But then again, you know, so you could come out there and be extra cautious, but then you could also just be really determined. I know that when I competed on a really low level in jiu-jitsu, and I was almost always just competing in my school. Once in a blue moon, I'd compete against another school. And I remember whenever I would, my first thought, because I knew, you know, I was already older. I wasn't going to really try to make any sort of jiu-jitsu career in Masters 2, Masters 3, anything like that. But so I remember thinking, what I don't want is to get caught and submitted right away. And I remember saying to myself, I'm not going to get caught and subbed right away. I'm going to win this fight. I'm going to beat this guy. I know I can, but my first thought is I'm not going to get caught right away, and I'm not going to do anything stupid to get caught right away. Once the first like 30 seconds would go by, or a minute or so, I would go, okay, now I'm going to try to play, you know, try to impose my game. But I definitely am not getting caught right away. Do you think that could stick in a fighter's head a little bit, who's caught right away? Or do you think they would do the opposite? Or what would you think?
I think I think every fighter doesn't want to get caught,
right,
you know,
right.
Way. So that's why you see, I feel like a lot of studying, you see that feeling out process a lot in fights.
Yes.
And that's why.
Makes sense. So this should be a good and exciting fight. How does he compare with guys that you've competed with and guys that you've trained with, would you say?
You know, he's tough. You know, he's very well rounded. But you know, I'm coming in to win. You know, I don't care, you know, how much experience he has, any of that stuff. I'm coming in to win.
Absolutely. And where are you ranked right now? I know it varies because there's like 3 or 4 ranking bodies, but are you like 15 or 12 or 10 or what?
I actually, to be honest with you, I have no idea.
You should be. You definitely should be top 20, possibly even top 10. Although you can look back on past videos of my show. My producer will nod his head here. When we talk about which division I personally have felt is the most stacked, I never shift from UFC featherweight division, because look at all the guys there, and I'm sure you're glad to be part of that division. But when you got Volkanovski, you got Max Holloway, you got you know, when Zabit's not injured, Zabit, you got Yair, you know, you got Korean Zombie, you got Josh Emmett. You know, so many people in there, but still, I believe that with your wins, you're really close. Off of a win over Gavin Tucker, and I know you're not looking past him, would you call anyone out, you think? Do you think you might want to see one of these top 10 guys?
You know, right now, my vision's so set on that next fight that I'm not even thinking past that.
Makes sense. I respect that. Any exciting fights with your teammates coming up, or just fights that you're really excited to watch?
One coming up, it's gonna be after my fight in May. Andre Petrosky fights, forget his first name, but Maximov. I think he's.
Oh yeah, Nick Maximov, yeah. the Diaz student.
Yes. Yep. That's him.
That should be a good fight. Now, are you guys ever able to corner for each other, or does everyone pretty much want to have, you know, actually just their coaches in their corner?
If we can, yes. But like most of the time, it's just the coaches.
Makes sense. But that should be a really good fight. So, man, yeah. I tell you, there's just a lot of great action coming up, man. And final question, any goals for your career when you start to get an even bigger platform and you start to make more money? Would you want to, like, get involved in any business ventures? Would you eventually want to, like, have your own gym, or you know, what are your goals for when you become even more successful with this fighting career?
Well, you know, obviously the career is number one priority.
Of course.
You know, I want to be a world champion. But down the road, I don't know, maybe like a gym down the road, maybe move down south to Florida or something, get a fishing boat, who knows?
Love that. Would you ever want to be like a commentator or a trainer for fighters? Like James Krause over at Glory, like he's becoming like a coach as well as a fighter. And then there's, you know, jobs as a commentator, analyst. Does any of that stuff, you know, appeal to you?
Yeah, you know, that'd be a great opportunity. That's something that's possible in the future. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I can see you doing that. And I know I said last question, but let's just go a final question. What can you tell a guy coming up, let's say, who's an amateur now or just beginning his MMA career as a pro? You know, what can you tell a guy to do that would give him the best chance to have the success that you have?
Get as much experience as possible, get as well-rounded as possible, and embrace the journey. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. You know, you can't get deterred by the downs, and you can't, you know, let it get to your head when things are going good.
I like that. And how about, sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear that last part.
Oh, just keep balance.
Makes sense. And anything not to do that some fighters might be doing?
You know, live a healthy lifestyle. You know, hang around people that are gonna be good for what you want to do. You know, don't hang around the wrong crowds. Always keep a really good work ethic, and always be a student. Never think you know everything. Never let your ego get too big.
Like that. Great advice, man. Really appreciate it. What's the best social media for people to support you, Pat?
Patrick Sabatini, MMA.
Excellent. And that's everywhere. Are you more on Instagram, more on Facebook, more on Twitter?
More on Instagram.
Fantastic. Pat Sabatini, really appreciate you, man. As mentioned, been a fan of yours for a while, watching you win and just be impressive. And, you know, I'm from Michigan, which is like Midwest/East Coast. Always support my East Coast brothers from over there in Pennsylvania. Philly, tough you guys are, man. And can't wait to see you do it on April 9th. Love to have you back down the line to talk again.
Thank you so much for having me, brother. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother. Really appreciate your time. Have a great night.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You got it. So that was Pat Sabatini. The guy's killing it in the UFC. Smart guy, very focused, very easygoing guy. Definitely you could see the mind of a fighter. Like, he's locked in, he's confident, he's focused, but he's got a good head on his shoulders.
100.
Yeah, and it's just, he just seems like one of these guys that is, he's hard to beat because his mind is strong. I mean, look at all that experience he had, even by his early 20s, going over to Russia and places, competing in combat sambo. That's unusual for an American-born guy. You know, that's just like going over there in like a baptism by fire. No wonder the dude is this composed,
right,
when he's in there, because that's crazy. I mean, could you imagine when you were like in your early 20s, all of a sudden said, all right, Adam, let's get on some planes to some crazy Eastern Bloc places for you to go fight? That would be a little scary. I'm not saying you'd be scared. I might be scared. I mean, it's a little unsettling. You know,
the way I was raised, I wanted to.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I believe it.
All the AAU wrestling and trying to go global with that. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I definitely think it helps, and he's got a great team and great guys that he trains with, and man, tough dude. And Gavin Tucker's a tough guy. Like I always say when I do breakdowns, man, a guy coming off a loss who is on a really good win streak is going to be really determined. And he wants, you know, to be back on track. And Pat is looking for his 6th win in a row. This is going to be a barn burner. Don't miss that fight. You know, yeah, I think Pat can do it, but man, Tucker's going to be determined as hell. In fact, I don't think Gavin Tucker ever had 2 losses in a row in his whole career. In fact, this one loss may be his first loss. I forget. But anyway, it's gonna be a great fight April 9th. You don't want to miss that. So where are we on the clock, Dr. Adam Roorda? Okay.
I say we're about ready to wrap it up. It's been a couple great interviews, and we got people asking what we're covering. Well, it's all things mixed martial arts, and you know, we will go ahead and cover boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai. We'll cover all the different promotions out there, professional wrestling from time to time as well. Definitely follow us at MMA Power Hour. You see it going across the top of the screen quite clearly. I hope you are able to read that. If you cannot, I think they still have Hooked on Phonics.
Yes, hooked on phonics. I remember that.
I don't know, but
Yeah, I see,
Can give it a whirl.
something like that. But yeah, for all the questions, sorry I wasn't looking up there. But
That's all right. Mostly people just having some great banter back and forth. I love it. We're actually growing. Our presence is growing here a little bit, week by week, as we've gone over to just the Hannibal TV and our own social media as well. We're trying to keep it there. We used to be on Fight TV, but we decided to kind of make a break for it and go on our own with the Hannibal TV and see what we can do to make things happen. You guys are absolutely amazing. Yeah, no, hop in every Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific time, so that is 9 p.m. Eastern. We love having everybody here. Great interviews from Colin every single week. And also, everybody, if you're not hitting us up on our social media, like I said, do that, but also hit up lithtoken.io. It's LITH token.io. It is a cryptocurrency that I'm actually a blockchain architect for. Something else that I do is supporting the show.
Absolutely, and we really appreciate Dr. Adam Roorda. I want to thank you guys that jumped in here. Host, thank you for the good words which you turned in earlier. You can see the whole entirety of the show. We will leave it up on Hannibal TV, and Hannibal may even chop it up into different segments, as he'll do sometimes. Really appreciate it. Patrick, is that Patrick Patrick Gora, you're very welcome for thanking us. We're so glad you're here. Appreciate it. MMA it's a great sport. We love MMA. We also had a top 10 boxer on our show last week in Cody Crowley, who's going to be having a big fight coming up on the PBC card in about 5 or 6 weeks. And we definitely look forward to having people. We've had Thai boxers on here. We've had Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialists from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world and community. We are credentialed with all major fighting organizations. That is the UFC, Bellator, PFL, Professional Fighters League, and One Championship out of Singapore. And so we will be at events when we can. We've covered them, had a great time. And check out for my voice on post-fight press conferences. We always kill it with the great questions. Anyway, thank you. Please appreciate you, Patrick Gora, and all you guys, host, everyone. We appreciate you coming in. Dr. Adam Roorda, I'll pass it to you to give your final thoughts, and then I'll take it away. And
my final thoughts are that you're all absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for another amazing episode, Colin, and we're going to kill the light that has been casting some interesting shadows on your face today. But next week we'll have every single episode. We always improve, and we're going to keep things improving here. You guys are awesome. Stay cool.
Absolutely. Like Patrick there said, peace, and appreciate you guys. In closing, I want to thank our guest, Patrick Sabatini, Pat Sabatini, the UFC top 15 featherweight, probably after this one, top 10 in the toughest division in the UFC, in my opinion. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Definitely, for sure. Appreciate you coming. Spread the love in a positive way. Be that guy, be that girl. Even if you haven't had time to chat with some people, shoot them a message, shoot them a text, shoot them a Facebook Messenger, Instagram, whatever. Let people know you got their back, even if you haven't talked to them for a while. You know, letting people know that you care could really help someone's life. It is hard times. Take good care of your animals. Walk your dog whenever he or she needs it. Keep your cat litter clean. Really important for their health. Make sure they have cold water and fresh food and a warm place to sleep, not outside. And we really appreciate you. Big love and respect to everyone out there. For the entire team at the MMA Power Hour, this is Colin Crandall, and for tonight, I am tapping out.